Book 2, The Way of Transformation, Lesson 13. You are unlimited spirit. Now we begin. Indeed, as always, greeting unto you, beloved and holy friends. We come forth to join with you, and yet we are not part from where you are. We are not inaccessible to any of God's children. In truth, separation does not exist in all of creation. This can only mean that I am not apart from where you are. And where you are has nothing at all to do with the location of the body that you have learned to call your own. In truth, you are pure spirit. In truth, you are as I am. In truth, that which you are abides throughout all dimensions of consciousness. In truth, that which you are has never tasted separation from God. There is an aspect of you that has chosen to perceive yourself as identified with the physical body in your third-dimensional world called space and time. This is the part of the experience you have created, and thus call to yourself. But when I speak of self, I speak not of the self which is the dream of the body, the self which you have identified yourself with. Rather, I speak of the self that transcends all limitation and exists in all dimension. Beloved friends, by way of introduction, that which we will be speaking unto in the next 12 lessons, called the Way of Transformation, rest with this simple truth. At no time are you imprisoned within the body. At no time. At no time are you limited to the appearance that you have come to believe is you. No matter how deep the pain, no matter how certain you have been of what you call your common sense telling you, I am here. I am this body. This moment is happening. This is all there is. Regardless of all of that, the truth is not shaken. You are not the mere appearance of the body-mind that you have called a self. Now, with a simple point as a foundation, we can begin. Beloved friends, the way of transformation rests on exactly the same thing that all of your dreams rest upon, the decision concerning what you would be committed to. For you cannot dream a dream, that is, you cannot create an experience in the field of consciousness without being 100% committed to it. It may appear that this is not the case, but I assure you that it is. This means that in each moment of your lived experience, what you are aware of is wholly uncaused by anything outside of yourself. As you read these words, for example, if you limit yourself to being only the body, receiving certain frequencies of vibration, touching your eyes, and creating a certain neurological stimulus within the brain and translating that vibration into certain words of your English language, that experience is not caused by anything outside of yourself. You are equally and infinitely free, in this very moment, as you contemplate these words, to experience this transmission of vibration in a wholly different way, beyond your language. You are free to perceive yourself from the realms of pure spirit. You are free to see me and those who join with me, as we transmit this frequency that creates a vibration through your physical form. An exercise to expand your awareness. Here is a simple exercise. Take just a moment and with your consciousness drop this simple pebble. I am not what I have perceived myself to be. I am unlimited, pure spirit, and nothing is unavailable to me. Therefore, in this moment, I choose to open access to other dimensions of experience, so that I might call this moment to me in a different way. As the words are spoken, notice what images begin to come into your field of awareness, as you perhaps imagine yourself to be far more than just a body, abiding in far greater dimension than the physical dimension. Do you see fleeting images of other beings, colors of light, subtle feelings that perhaps you had not been aware of while you were focusing on the English translation of the vibration? What do you notice drifting through the field of your awareness? Pay attention to it, for you cannot imagine what you have not or are not experiencing. You are the field of consciousness having that experience now. You create the capacity. You decide what will enter into that field of your awareness and how you will experience it. Beloved friends, learn to look beneath the scene. Look to feel beyond the body. Learn to allow yourself awareness of what steals across the metaphorical corner of your eye. That is, the outer edges of your field of awareness. Come to realize that the experience you are most familiar with, that is, of being a body-mind, who reads or listens to words, which are vibrations of sound, translates them into English, and therefore perceives that you are having a conversation with one being who happens to be another body, is a very limited perception. Recognize that around the edges of that there is something far more vast, something which can be cultivated, that allows you to be aware of much more refined levels. Eventually you will be able to perceive these dimensions of energies with your eyes open, as you look upon another body-mind who is currently having the experience of vibrating thoughts through it directed toward you. You call it a conversation, You will see that other being not just as a body, but as a field of light. You will see colors. You will feel vibrations. And these colors and those vibrations will tell you much more than the words could ever say to you. The result, of course, is that you will not be fooled by words nearly as often as you have been in the past. Practice this little exercise as often as you choose in any and all circumstance. It is not difficult. You simply use the field of your consciousness to decide to be aware of what is around the edges of the third-dimensional experience you are having. For instance, when you are in your automobile and you pull up to a red light, as you sit next to another automobile with a driver, look over through the physical eyes. If you limit yourself, you will see an automobile with another body sitting behind a wheel, similar to what your body or what you call your body is doing. What if you allowed yourself to play by looking at that being and saying within the mind, "This is but one small expression of that being. I wonder what's occurring around the edges." You might surprise yourself when suddenly a thought comes into your consciousness. You know that thought is not yours. It could be the thought of the person in the car saying, "My God, why didn't I iron my husband's shirt this morning? Oh, he's going to be so angry." How many times have thoughts like that entered your mind and you have dismissed them as imagination? What are we suggesting here is to use the most ordinary moments of your day to become aware of your own being, your own naturally expanded, unlimited self. There is nothing hidden at any time. At any moment you have full access to the totality of another soul. Does that sound like an invasion of privacy? Beloved friends, there is no such thing. Privacy is important only for those who believe they are cut off and separate, and perhaps have something to hide. In reality, nothing is hidden. As you come to trust that the deep nature of your own being is perfect wisdom, perfect compassion, and perfect love, you will begin to release that fear that you have built up around the extraordinary skills that you already possess. You will discover that you can trust your unlimited spirit. As you sit in your car looking at the one behind the wheel of the automobile next to you, and you allow yourself to relax and notice what is around the edges, as it touches your consciousness, and you will realize this means that minds are not separate one from another. If their mind is touching yours, yours is touching theirs, and you are free to send them love. You are free to send what you pick up from another, and without opening the physical mouth, you can send the answer of wisdom that they are seeking. Imagine being able to go to your grocery store and push your little metal carts down the aisle so that you can fill it with boxes of what appears to be fresh food and notice the thought waves of those around you. Imagine beginning to pick up what is going on in their drama, their story, their life, and actually being able to telepathically communicate to them the answers to their dilemma. Would that not feel like a greater degree of freedom than what you are accustomed to? The way of transformation absolutely requires that you be committed to living differently. For is not transformation a change from the status quo? How can you experience transformation if you do not use time to think and be differently? Crying out to me will not do it. Reading 1,000 holy books will not do it. One thing and one thing alone will bring you into the transformation that you have sought. The willingness to abide where you are differently. Begin again with a simple exercise of reminding yourself that in truth you are unlimited spirit abiding in all dimensions. All extraordinary abilities are already inherent in your consciousness, for if they were not, it would mean that God creates with inequality. Your egoic mind might respond, "Well, you are born with that gift, but I don't have it." No, God creates His beloved Son, and the sonship is made up of equals in spirit. The only difference in the field of time is that it appears that some have accessed and cultivated their inherent abilities more so than others. You then use this to perceive another as more special than you as a way of proving to yourself your lack of worth, your smallness, your weakness. You think that perhaps someday, if only you live the next 100 lifetimes being a good person, then maybe these abilities will begin to spontaneously show up in you. But there are no accidents, and nothing you see being made manifest in the life of anyone has occurred by accident. Everything you see is deliberate, everything. Therefore, if you would look upon another and say, "Oh, they can talk with Jeshua, but I could never do that," stop lying to yourself. Rather, come to see that if this ability is being made manifest in your field of awareness, it is because you have called it to yourself, as a reminder of what is already inherent within you. If another lays the hand on the body of the forehead of one who is sick, and the one who is sick arises and the disease is no longer present, remember that you have called that experience through the beloved brother or sister into the field of your consciousness to remind you of the truth of your being. If you feel attracted to being a healer, then drop everything else you are committed to and begin healing. Cultivating Unlimited Consciousness. As we enter into these lessons on transformation, you will discover that we begin to speak more directly to you. We will not be beating about the bush, not placating your resistance, your fears, not stroking you for the dramas you have created that have seemed to separate you from the truth of your beingness. For as we move into the way of transformation, the call is being sent from us to you to arise and assume complete responsibility for all that you see, all that you think, and all that you choose. Rest assured, if you hear this call, it is because a deeper part of you has called it to you as a way by which you remember that these things are already contained within you. The way of transformation is the way of assuming responsibility for time, for each and every moment of it. For time is not a prison for you. It is that which flows out of your very consciousness, and there is never a place or a time, which is more conducive to the way of transformation than the place in which you are and the time that is now. There is no one without privilege. There is no one by the station in life, as the world would see it, who is limited from watering and cultivating and bringing forth the fruit that rests within their unlimited consciousness. There is no one who is a victim of the world they see, for the world they see truly occurs nowhere save within the field of their awareness, which we call consciousness or mind. The buildings, the automobiles you drive, the dollars in the bank, none of what is real. These are merely symbols of the quality of experience you have chosen to call yourself as a temporary learning experience. Beloved friends, use time well. Ask yourself, am I fully committed to transforming my awareness from one who has been sleeping and perceiving myself as limited to the space and time dimension? Or am I committed to truly hearing my brother's call to take up my cross and follow him? That is, the cross of crucifixion, the heavy wooden cross that you have been carrying around that says, well, I'm really struggling and trying to get to Christ consciousness, for maybe if I just got rid of my husband, that would do it. Or perhaps if I moved to another location, that would do it. Maybe there is a spiritual technique out there that I haven't found yet in the smorgasbord available. Once I find it and start practicing it, then I can get on with it. You are in the holiest of temples, yourself. You abide in the perfect moment for your transformation. Nothing limits you at all, or at any time. The power of the freedom of choice is the essence of Christ. And the very power that you have been using to try to convince yourself of your limitations is exactly the same power that I use to overcome death. There is no difference except a wink of an eye, an intention, a commitment, a recognition, that is all. In reality, nothing is impossible to you and nothing unavailable to you. So what occurs in the consciousness that seems to create the blockage, the obstacle to love's presence? As you create a temporary perceived limitation as a way to call to you a certain quality of experience, there is a tendency to fall into the trap of identifying yourself with the constraint that you have set up from your unlimited freedom in order to have a temporary learning experience. When in your consciousness you come to be identified with the boundaries or the constraints, the lines upon the canvas that you have freely chosen to draw, you create an imprisonment. That imprisonment is actually a complete illusion, and in reality your unlimited self goes on experiencing anything it wants throughout all dimensions of creation. Your belief that you define by the lines you have drawn in the field of consciousness, the pebbles you have dropped, the ripples you have created, that is only you, creates a constriction, a density, and a conflict. This is occurring nowhere in your being except in the part of you that has extended itself like a sunbeam from the sun into what you call your space-time dimension. Now think about this. If you feel constrained in this dimension, it does not mean that you are constrained. It simply means that one tiny ray of your light is temporarily having a certain kind of experience. If you trace that ray of light back to its source, you find something brighter than 10,000s of your sun, something far more vast than the sun that lights your physical universe, something no vast that out of it has come forth a multitude of universe. The light of your soul, pure spirit, remains undefiled and unlimited. The teeny ray can become aware of the whole, and that is the process of awakening. It doesn't really change anything at all, since you begin to become identified not with the teeny little ray that is having a temporary experience, but that field out of which the very power of experience, the space-time dimension, is coming forth. Imagine shifting your identity so that you are the ocean from which a multitude of waves are coming forth and continually coming forth, each one slightly different, each one a little larger or smaller, a little faster, each one a little more foam on it than the others. These are the very temporary, dancing waves being emitted from a field or an ocean of water that knows neither beginning nor end, and whose far shores cannot be discovered. That is yourself, not the teeny wave that has a name and a history of being born at a certain time, living in a certain house or a city. It is certainly never what you call yourself as a banker, a teacher, a mother, or a father. None of these things is what you are. The way of transformation is much simpler than you think. But again, it rests on your decision to use time to be wholly committed to awakening from the narrow constraints you have placed upon your vast field of consciousness. For no other reason than it might be rather entertaining to allow this teeny little ray to continue in space and time for a while being aware of the totality of yourself and actually operating from that totality. Can you imagine living like that? Can you imagine your body-mind driving its little automobile down the road, but every time you pull up to your red light and you notice someone next to you, you do not perceive another body? You will still see the automobile, you will still see the body, but what you are feeling, what you are knowing, and what you are seeing is that this is an infinite field of consciousness, just like you are, and that their mind field touches yours throughout all dimensions, and that you are Christ, and you can transmit wisdom and love to them. You can learn to direct energies. You might see it as a certain color. You can touch their field, their auric field. You can send healing to the organs of the body that you can see or perhaps a little out of whack. You can be the embodiment in space and time of that self that is so vast, so grand, so filled with extraordinary power, that all you can do is smile, perhaps unseen and unrecognized by those who themselves have become unwittingly identified with a little teeny drop of foam, which is a part of the wave, which is part of the ocean of their self. But what they choose does not influence your choice. Listen very carefully. What another chooses does not influence your choice at all, even when it seems like it. It is not even accurate to say, "Oh, well, I fell under the influence of so-and-so and so-and-so. I went a little unconscious. That's why it happened. I gave up myself." No, no, no. In every moment of your experience, what you experience is coming from within you. It is not placed in you from a source outside of yourself. In every moment you remain free to observe and to notice whether you are having a good time being where you are. That is, being in your perception of life and recognizing you have the power to think differently. For example, "Oh, that's right, I'm not in a traffic jam." There is no such thing as a traffic jam. Everything is perfect. There is just a giant weaving together of experience of infinite souls. So while I sit here in this little car with this funny little body, I'm going to be Christ. I'm going to tap into what's going on around the edge of my awareness. I feel the thoughts of anyone I choose to direct attention to. And from that depth of my being, I will direct love to them. I can choose to be the truth of who I am. The red light, the automobile, all jangled together. These things do not create my experience. My experience is flowing from within. It is being extended outward. Only you have the power to create your experience. Listen carefully. No one has the power to create your experience. No one has the power to limit your experience. And nowhere in the laws of God has it ever been written that you must conform your experience to the choice of another. You remain free to freely choose to be the embodiment of Christ. You are the one who can bless creation. It begins when you are willing to assume responsibility for what you want to use time for. In truth, you are doing it anyway. You are always using time for exactly what you are choosing. You are not surviving. You are not trying to get things done that the world is requiring. Never is anything occurring except that you are having awareness of the effects of how you are choosing to use consciousness, and that is all. Here is where the way of transformation begins. Ultimately, it is also where it ends. But the difference will be that you will no longer even want to choose anything that speaks of limitation. Even though the body-mind that you once identified as yourself still seems to be moving about in space and time, you will not even look at that body-mind and say, "Mine." You will simply say, "The body-mind is a temporary communication device brought forth from the ocean of my unlimited self, as I have done a multitude of times in a multitude of universes. What's the big deal?" Your consciousness will literally shift. It will take a new perspective, and you will know that you are pure spirit, that you do not abide in time at all, that you can simply delight in utilizing the body-mind as a communication device. When you get on your airplane and you travel to some distant shore, to a place you are enjoying being in, you are still using the body-mind as a communication device between you and the earth, between you and other creations that have come forth from other minds. Whether it is a beautiful building or a beautiful painting, all that you have experienced is something that you have drawn to yourself through the medium of the body. It is an experience, and that is all. You are the unlimited one who is in the driver's seat. bringing awareness to the limiting definition of yourself. The second stage in the way of transformation requires that you begin to bring awareness to the little squiggly lines that you have drawn on the white and unlimited and perfectly unblemished canvas of consciousness. Your psychologist would call these personalities or masks. Come to be aware of the little selves you have created. Begin to ask yourself, what am I defending? What am I continuing on a daily basis that no longer fulfills me? After all, I have been there. I have done that. How might I look upon these little selves, these little drops of foam on this temporary wave I have brought forth? How might I use them differently? I wonder if I could create a brand new one. Why is this important? It is because of the squiggles you have drawn. For instance, perhaps you would say to yourself, well, I am Mary Jane. I am a vice president at a bank. I was born in such and such a city. My parents are so-and-so and so-and-so, and I'd really be different except my sister used to beat me when I was young. The second you define yourself, you constrain yourself within the parameters that you have chosen to value. Instantly, you create exactly the experience of the vibrations that are the effect of the squiggles. Think of those squiggles, the parameters of a little self, as an effect of the certain pebbles that have been dropped into the pond of your consciousness. Once you draw the lines, certain effects flow from it. What if you were to decide to create a self that sees itself as perfectly unlimited, instead of saying, well, I have to go see my sister. I know she used to beat me, but that's the way it is. It's just who I am. You simply sit back and say, I am a perfectly unlimited being, and I think I will create a self who is an expression of the unlimited love of Christ. I am going to go see this human being. You might use their name, but do not call them your sister. And I am going to utilize time for beaming as much love to them as I can, for no other reason than it will feel rather grand to do so. I am the embodiment of Christ, and this one may not know it, but that does not matter. I can enjoy it anyway. Do you see how that could begin to move you beyond an identification of a certain definition of yourself that has actually locked you into a narrow set of parameters, which can only have certain kind of effects? What if you were to sit down with those you call your parents and deliberately choose to look at them as beings that you had called to your field of awareness? What if you choose to see that they are infinite and free beings in perfect equality with you? They simply choose to receive your cosmic telegram and took on a certain role in space and time to help you play out what you wanted to learn. Would that begin to shift your identification with them as merely parents? For if you look upon them and say, those are my parents, you have defined yourself as only their child. Do you begin to see the significance? It is very, very important to bring awareness to the definition you have given yourself, and keep insisting upon each and every day. That is like dropping the same pebble into the same stream and creating the same effects, and nothing is transformed. It also brings up some fear. Your egoic mind will ask, what would happen if I let go of the definitions that I am familiar with? Here is the answer. Nothing will happen. Because in reality, these definitions have never truly limited your unlimited self from going on, creating and experiencing throughout all dimension. The only change that could be said to occur is that the little teeny ray of your beingness that is currently dancing through the experience of being a mind, body, in space and time will begin to throw open the doors and actually access cosmic awareness. If you want the experience of walking on this planet as an enlightened master, first come to understand the foundation upon which the way of transformation is based. Second, bring awareness to the definition of yourself that have been unconscious for you. And then deliberately redefine yourself as you enter into the field of your experience. Here is the nub. No one can make the decision for you. I have never enlightened anyone. I have never even so much as lifted them an inch. I have merely chosen to demonstrate unlimitedness for myself, and part of that experience was taking on the crucifixion, just so that I could learn how to overcome death. That was my choice, my pathway, my calling forth of experience. I can tell you that so much grander to be the body while being completely aware of your cosmic self. In the same moment, I must say to you, it is perfectly okay for you to perceive yourself as a limited ray of consciousness. Yes, there are certain results that follow, but still, you are completely free to continue in that field of experience for as long as you wish. Imagine one who goes to swim in the waters of a pool who has certain parameters. Each end may be 40 of your feet in length, and the sides may be 200 feet in length. It does not matter. There is still a certain volume of water, and that is the field of which you swim. The field of water is like the field of your consciousness. It is shaped by the boundaries that you choose to draw. The very same being could say, I am much too grand to swim in a pool. I believe I'll put the little body on an airplane and fly to the grand ocean to swim in the midst unbounded by a box. The experience of that swimming is much different. Your consciousness is exactly like that. All that you experience from the moment you awaken in the morning until the moment you awaken in the morning again, because there is no downtime. Everything you see, everything you experience is the direct result of where and how you have drawn the lines on the blank canvas of consciousness, and you are free at any time to erase them and draw differently. Never say, then, that you have discovered something. Rather learn to say, I am experiencing the effects of certain lines I have drawn in the infinite field of my being, and they are perfectly okay. That is like taking a walk in the rain. Learn to enjoy it, from the place of unlimitedness within you, as a Christ would walk upon this earth and say, I choose to feel the rain upon the skin of this body. I feel the shiver of the flesh against the cold. What a delight it is. I am unlimited forever. This moment does not define me. It does not imprison me. I am free. I am free. Tomorrow I might move to some warmer climate where the sun shines and there are no clouds of rain. If so, I will enjoy the rays of the sunlight upon my skin and the sweat upon my brow. And I will notice what it feels like as it trickles down the skin. Not my skin, but the skin. And when I meet a friend, I will remind myself that our fields of mind are meeting in many dimensions. What will I choose to bring to that moment? Will I see myself as limited to the boundaries of the skin of the body? Will I only tell them of all my laments? Oh, my car had a flat tire, and then my mother called. She's unhappy because I forgot her birthday. And oh my goodness, I don't know how I am going to get through. Or am I going to meet them as the unlimited cosmic being that I am? Will I create the space in which I get to enjoy beaming love to them? Will I enjoy seeing what is occurring just around the edge of the third-dimensional experience that, of course, does go on? Hello, Fred. Nice to see you. But around the corner, oh, Fred, you had an argument with your wife. Let me talk to you about that, without ever opening the physical mouth. Here is some love for you. You know the wisdom, you know the answer. Oh, a little cancer is beginning to form in the colon. I think I will send light to it. So how is the wife? How are the children? Oh, very good. And I continue beaming light into the cancer. Which experience do you prefer? The contracted awareness within two small squiggles on an infinite canvas of radiant light, or the radiant light itself, operating through very temporary and freely chosen squiggles called the body-mind? The way of transformation begins with you deciding what you are most committed to. It requires bringing awareness to every set of definitions you have adopted about the self and placed as an overlay upon it. It culminates in the transparency of the body-mind self, a little ray of light you think you are, so that even while you continue for a little while, it is permeated by the awareness of your cosmic being, and that becomes your identity. You, then, are Christ, plain in the world, unlimited, unfettered, unvictimized by anything. What arises, arises, and what passes away, passes away. And arising and passing away are exactly the same to you. Love comes, it is received. Love seems to be taken. So what? You bless the being that withdraws awareness from you, and you simply open to whomever comes into your consciousness. For you decide how you will be in a relationship with each moment. And you never discover something out there that is right. You simply create the structure of your experience. Whenever another says to you, well, I like to eat meat. I love it raw and bloody upon my plate. And you have been eating nothing but fruits and vegetables. There is no reason to say anything at all. Just smile, decide that you can beam them love. Not because they are doing something wrong, and if you love them they might change, but because their decision does not mean anything. It is just a description of how they are structuring their experience. If you identify with yourself as a pure vegetarian, you will never be able to prevent yourself from judging your brother or sister. And where judgment abides, you have created separation, and for a moment you lose the presence of love. Can you become selfish enough to learn to truly recognize that you are not influenced by anyone else's choice, and their choices do not say anything about your own? You are free to embrace your experience as being wholly self-created, out of perfect innocence and perfect playfulness. You have the free use of time to generate experience. Creating a transformation journal. Much has been given to you in this lesson. We would highly suggest for those committed to transformation that they go back and be very clear about what is being shared. Begin to create your own personal transformation journal. Let it be used for no other purpose. Take the journal and find a picture that represents for you the highest, the deepest, the most passionate, the most beautiful expression of love that you can imagine. Do not compare it to anyone else's. Just put it on the front of the journal. Buy a pen that will be used for no other reason than this. Find a place to place this journal so that nothing else occupies that space, whether it is on your altar or in your drawer by your bed. Find a place deliberately, out of the field of your Christedness, and say, this is the place. Then each time you begin a lesson, go through it carefully and write down the key points that are being shared. Decide what they will mean for you, and decide what steps you will take to incorporate them into your lived daily experience, even if that means they are not going to be incorporated at all. Take 100% responsibility for that decision and write it down in your journal. For example, I don't think I'm going to do that. I own it. I decide freely. That is the way it is. As you do this, by the time these lessons end, you will be surprised at what you have written in your journal. As you go through it lesson by lesson, also keep track of some of the things that you experience as you play with the practice that we give you. How are things changing? What experiences are you beginning to have as you explore the space just beyond the corners of your normal awareness? When you do the exercise we suggest at the beginning of these lessons, what images came? What thoughts did you notice? What colors did you see? Write them down, jot them down, have fun with it. For indeed in each lesson we will give you some very specific, though what may seem as very simple exercise, but they are designed to give you access to what is already occurring at all times, in a way that can foster and deepen your deliberate awareness of what is occurring at the time in your cosmic and unlimited self. The only transformation you can experience in space and time is the reaching down from the depth of the ocean into one teeny, temporary wave and readjusting the little foam drops on the tip of the wave you call the body-mind of yourself, so that it begins to be a transparent conduit for the awareness of the ocean itself. That is the game of awakening. It is actually the most delightful use of time you'll ever find. As you choose to do that, trust me, it will carry you beyond the world, not from denial, but simply because you have outgrown it. There are dimensions of experience awaiting you that are so much grander than the dimension of the body-mind. But the way that you get to them is by bringing full awareness to what you are choosing to experience in each and every moment. For example, experiencing the soap of the skin in the morning shower, wow, how amazing, or a raindrop upon the cheek, the shiver against the cold, the sound of a cat meowing, or the thought of a dog across the street, these things you call to yourself in this dimension. Do you not want to taste it all? Do you not want to wrap yourself around it all? Do you not want to remember that magic is around you? Out of that magic, the moment you are experiencing is being created from within your holy self. It has never been and will never be again. Mystery of all mysteries, dance of creation, reality of love. There is no higher state in the mind-body than to live as one who has been blown away and lives in that state perpetually. Then you are free and the world has no hold upon you. This lesson's message is a beginning for anyone who chooses to wrap his or her unlimited hands around it, but alas, we cannot shape the use of it for you. And if you do not like where you are, look no further than yourself. We await you. We will reach out for you in a million different ways across space and time into the space between your thoughts. Not just through the mechanisms of this course, but every time there is a little space open in your consciousness, we will indeed come and whisper. Beloved friend, come and play at a vaster level. It is all within you. Come and play. Come and play with God's children. You are free in this moment. You are as free as you will ever be right now. How then will you use time? What will you construct out of the infinite field of awareness? What world will you look upon? What thoughts will you think? What feelings will you invoke within the cells? Where will you direct the body to be placed on a daily basis? How will you deserve or how will you enter into relationship with each moment, whether touching a dial or touching a body? It really makes no difference. What will you bring to that experience? Is it Christ touching the shoulder of another, or is it just some limited, needy self? Who will you say that you are to this world? For what you decree is instantly. There is no way out of this responsibility. Stop fighting it, and birth Christ where once you thought something less than that was dwelt. Beloved friends, peace be unto you always, and always I am with you. I come to you not alone, but with many who have delighted in creating a resonance with me, and I with them. For no other reason than the power expands exponentially when minds join in love from a foundation of wholeness and not neediness. I do not need the one that you call my mother. She does not need me. But oh, how we delight in creating together that which extends the holy, the good, and the beautiful without end. Will you come and play with us? Peace then be with you always, and as always, Amen.